Hello, I'm Chris License, and welcome to our License to Travel. We just did a video where I talked about a favorite RV ladder. The fun part of it for me was that I got a chance to showcase some experiences with ladders from my previous line of work as a firefighter. Since then, we've had a few requests from some of our subscribers to make a video discussing what a firefighter might suggest someone do to mitigate the chance of an RV fire. Sounds like a great idea to me, so let's jump right into it. Back in the late 60s and early 70s, many mobile homes, yeah, I said mobile homes, were manufactured using aluminum wiring. That kind of slipped over into the RV side as well. It had something to do with the Vietnam War eating up all of the copper. Aluminum's oxidation process also creates a surface coating with high electrical resistance. That resistance is one factor in creating excess heat buildup in the connection. It is this breakdown of the connections at outlets, light switches, and other junctions that can create enough heat to start a fire. This aluminum wiring was responsible for thousands of mobile home and RV fires. That practice has long since stopped, but there are still problems with the wiring in our rolling homes. Even though we're back to copper, if the folks who are running the wire and connecting outlets and boxes throughout that RV are rushed, understaffed, maybe underpaid, or there is a high turnover rate, does that sound familiar? There is always a chance that some of those connections were not made tightly enough. Loose connections equals heat, arcing, and potential fires. Have you ever looked at the way wires are connected to outlets in these RVs? I mean, they're not stripped and wrapped around a screw you can tighten. They're just pushed between V-blades that cuts through the insulation and the wire is jammed into. Sure, it's light, but at what price? And yes, your rolling earthquake doesn't help to tighten any fittings. Shut up! Well, how common are RV fires? The NFPA, that's the National Fire Protection Association, suggests that there are over 20,000 RV fires every year. That includes an average of 24 deaths and 64 injuries. That's way too many. As more RVs are sold, more fires are being reported. Where do they start? Recent studies list these as the most common areas for fires. Number 1, engine areas, running gear, and wheel areas. That's 28%. Number 2, other vehicle areas, 15.9%. Number 3, operator or passenger area of the vehicle, that's 9.8%. Number 4, cooking area, that's 7.5%. Number 5, vehicle exterior, 6.8%. Number 6, other areas, 3.6%. Number 7, cargo or trunk areas, that's 3%. In the years between 2016 and 2018, 37% of RV fires were ignited by unintentional actions and 15% were due to failure of equipment and heat source. That leaves 52%, doesn't it? When do most RV fires happen? It seems that most are during the afternoon from 1 to 3 p.m. and least often between 4 to 5 p.m. Most on Fridays and Saturdays from May to August. Weekend warriors? What do you think should be our top tip for fire prevention? How about number 1, we check our detectors regularly. We put new labels on the outside of all of our detectors every time we change the batteries, and we also clean and vacuum them each time we maintenance them. Also, we replace the entire detector every 3 years. We also have a CO2 and propane detector combined, 1 unit. They are replaced on the same schedule. Don't forget to inspect all of your propane lines for damage, cracks, and leaks. Have a qualified technician perform a propane leak and pressure holding test anytime you work on the system that's crack a line open. Now, don't get carried away. I don't mean when you're taking the line off of the bottle and you're refilling it and then putting it back on. Check the dates on your fire extinguishers regularly. If they show any signs of discharge, replace them. Also, once a year, we do it every 2 months, invert the extinguisher and tap it on the base with a rubber mallet to be sure that the powder inside has not packed.
The extinguisher upside down to fluff the dry chemical. This stops the extinguishing agent from packing up at the base. Finally, initial and date the monthly inspection card and secure it to the extinguisher.
There is still some controversy about doing this. Seems there's a small 501c3 group of volunteers is suggesting you not invert and tap your extinguishers. Now, let me show you what happens to powder that sits upright in a moving vehicle for about 2,000 miles on our wonderful roads. Kitty, an extinguisher company, recalled more than 40 million extinguishers not long ago for the chemical agent, and that's ammonium phosphate, which is virtually in all ABC extinguishers, clogging when attempting to discharge. Some sort of clogging with the powder and inferior plastic parts. They say that with their new chemical powder, it is no longer a problem. Odd, no other companies have had a problem, and they are using the same chemical agent they have always used. Sounds to me like a spin doctor's hard at work. In my 35 years of experience as a full-time professional firefighter at a municipal department that handled over 70,000 calls per year, we used to carry dry powder extinguishers on our apparatus and found that no matter what anyone said otherwise, we had multiple extinguishers fail to operate properly when needed. They were taken back to our maintenance facility to verify the failure, then inverted and tapped with a small rubber mallet. Retried, and they operated normally. The extinguishers were then disassembled and inspected, finding nothing wrong with the mechanisms or valves, but some had small amounts of powder clinging to the sides and bottom of the canisters. We then would monthly invert the extinguishers, tap the bases, and return them to the mounts in the apparatus. Since then, we had no failures of any of the multiple brands we carried. Your mileage may vary. As a professional firefighter, I would advise you to have your extinguishers inspected by a professional fire protection company. They'll put a new tag on it with the date of their inspection. A little secret, so they don't get sued because it doesn't work when needed. They'll shake it to see if the powder flows. If they can't detect that, they will weigh it, then tap it with the small mallet and charge you for the pleasure of having them do the inspection. Many won't even bother themselves with consumer-grade equipment and just tell you to buy a new one. Just in case you're curious, this is a cut and paste from an extinguisher site. Quote, "Fire extinguishers expire, and they do this for a few different reasons. One common way is that over time, The seal on the neck will weaken and allow compressed gas to escape. Extinguishers that have lost much of their pressure will not operate. Pressure within an extinguisher can be conveniently checked through a pressure gauge. Sometimes it's just a little pop-up gauge. ABC class extinguishers, that's ammonium phosphate, have the tendency to fail due to solidification of the chemical in the canister base. Homeowners and inspectors can delay this process by periodically shaking the extinguisher. Expensive extinguishers that have expired, especially those designed for commercial use, can be refilled and resealed by companies who specialize in this service. Inexpensive models are disposable. End quote. If you're careful, you will not damage your extinguisher. Don't use a hammer. Side note, if you need to use the extinguisher, point the stream at the base of the fire and move the stream from side to side.
Sweep the nozzle from side to side. Once the fire is out, or if you're unable to extinguish the fire, leave the scene, find safety, and call 911 immediately if you haven't done so.
Prioritize regular maintenance on your RV. Remember that those areas where a fire may originate most frequently were in the engine areas, running gear, and wheel areas. Keep your running gear inspected and well maintained. It may be the most important thing that you can do. Number 1, inspect your RV and tow vehicle brakes regularly. Number 2, check your engine areas for any fluid leaks. Condensate from your AC doesn't count. Number 3, check hoses and belts and pulleys. Number 4, check the engine compartment for chewed, frayed, or abraded wires. Number 5, maintain your RV's tire pressure. Maintain all fuel sources and appliances regularly. Make sure any safety TSBs, technical service bulletins, on your dual fuel propane electric fridges are serviced by a qualified technician. Keep your electrical system in good working order. Check all of your wiring regularly. That's 120 volts and 12 volts. Look for signs of rodents, water damage, mechanical damage, etc. Tighten clamping screws in your distribution box with your breakers, with all of the power off, to be sure none have loosened. Inspect your shoreline carefully. Take a look at the pedestal before you plug in. Consider an RV voltage protector. Hughes makes a power watchdog that seems to be pretty good. At the very least, carry a handy pedestal tester and use it before connecting your shoreline. Use caution storing combustibles, lighter fluid, propane, butane, citronella oil, WD-40, even charcoal and paints. What should you do if there is a fire in your RV? Get out and stay away from the RV. Know and practice fire drills in the RV, on the road, and when sleeping. Once safe, call 911. If it's small enough and in a location where you can safely use an extinguisher, do so from a safe distance. As a firefighter, we found that most RVs and mobile homes, once a fire had started, rarely took longer than 10 minutes to burn to the ground. Get yourselves and your pets out as quickly as possible. There is nothing in there worth your lives or an extended stay in a burn unit. There are many new and innovative products for fire suppression that have come out within the last few years that, if your budget allows, could be of great benefit. And we as firefighters would love to see the manufacturers include some of them in the construction of new as well as add-ons to older RVs. We'll add some links below in the More section below this video of some that seem to show some great promise. This topic is broad and seemingly inexhaustible, but for now we hope that it has given you some food for thought and practice. We certainly hope you got some enjoyment from it, as well as help to stir your juices for practice and preparation. If you can think of any other safety thoughts about prevention, please leave them below for all of us to learn from. So if we don't meet up on the road, here's hoping we'll see you on the next video. Until then, please travel safe.